Evening, folks. I did one of these last night, and I was told the audio was not totally terrible. I don't know if I got as good as possible, but I was told it was not unlistenable. So I'm going to run it back. I also was told that the throwback IWC vibes were good, which feels like an insult, but I'll take it as a compliment. Night 2 in the books. Another interesting show. I hate to use the word interesting because it often feels like a cop-out for what you actually think of it. But in this case, I'm again going to just go with interesting because I think it was, I guess, uneven. I think would be a fair way to put it. I think on paper this night looked a lot stronger. And I think the first half captured that pretty emphatically. And then the deeper we got, I think some frailties appeared. And then it landed on a note that I thought was pretty rough. So we'll start there and kind of work backwards. Just jump all over the place, whatever. Cena and Cody. So I haven't had a chance to read a ton of the opinions and stuff. I'd imagine they're all over the place, which it kind of was inevitable, but especially with the finish, it's definitely going to be that way. I thought they got off to a really nice start. It had a classic main event opening act, which I really appreciated. Cena's healing was fun. I thought it was actually remarkably subtle for Cena, to be honest with you, which I would not associate that word with necessarily, but some of his little touches he added. I love the way that he kind of turned it into a fight to get control of the match. And then the less subtle, more overt moment was him slowing down his comeback, doing it at his own pace. That was magic. I loved that. But then to me, the opening act, they skipped the middle. They did that. Then they went into finishes. And that part of Cena's big match formula have never been my favourite, where it's just back and forth, near falls. And he went to that really quick hit. Then it happens, right? And I think this will probably live in wrestling infamy. Travis Scott emerges and the match comes to a total halt. He was going so slow that I actually said to my brother, he's stopping, get ready to record, Dwayne's about to come out. Because I thought he'd stopped on the ramp. He hadn't stopped. He was just going very, very slow. And the match came to a halt, and the atmosphere, which I have to say was just electric for that match. Incredible big fight. It reminded me of being like a Joshua fight, I was saying, in the boxing game. It was definitely a pro Cena crowd, but there was a feel to it. It didn't ruin the match for me or hurt the match at all for me in that regard. Unfortunately, the atmosphere drained during Travis Scott's entrance, and it never came back. Once they returned to Cena and Cody, they had that really awkward tug-of-war with the belt. And as much as I love the Cena part of him begging off, I don't love the Cody part of him being confused by that. I don't like that at all. In fact, I hate that, and that's bad for the babyface. Why would he pull back? I know he's a babyface, but this man put the boots to him, left him bloody. I don't know. I think I'll be careful with that. And I thought the finish itself was very flat in terms of the execution. The response around us was positive in the sense people were happy Cena won, but negative in the sense there was definitely a "is that it" vibe. And I thought they were going to restart the match or something. It didn't. Where I was sitting, it did not land as a conclusive finish. And I don't mean in terms of it being clean, I mean in terms of it being the climax, So yeah, a weird one. I don't think it was a particularly good match, to be honest. I think it had some very nice ingredients, but I thought the second half was confused enough that it kind of undid a lot of the good, sadly. So a pretty rough ending, I thought, tonight too. The best match of the show, by contrast, opened the triple threat. Io, Rhea, and Bianca. This also had a great atmosphere. I'm not a huge fan, to be honest, of opening with main event matches is something they really love now, and I don't love it because I think you should warm the people up. But if you're gonna be that great, then you could put that thing at, after 5 hours or after 10 minutes, it's gonna go over. In terms of the work, this was the best thing on either show by a mile. Execution was just pristine. Io, I thought, more than anyone, and I say that with serious consideration because everyone was great. I thought Io just owned that stage. Someone who really just seized that WrestleMania moment. I fucking hate that I just said WrestleMania moment. But you get what I'm saying, the WrestleMania set, the feel, the big show. She's made for a show. And they all are. Bianca, obviously incredible. Rhea too. Everything looked just perfect. The offense, the bumping, the selling, the timing. They tore that house down. That was the best match I thought of the weekend. And again, in terms of the work, it was not close at all. Up next for me, in terms of best stuff of the show, was the IC title match, which I got completely wrong. Couldn't have been more wrong. I didn't like the match on paper at all. When I say that, so I like all of the guys, and I think what Dom has become is like legitimately one of the coolest deals in wrestling. I think that's awesome. So I like all involved, but I didn't love it as a match for WrestleMania. I was completely wrong. It was perfect for a stadium. They nailed that, and they nailed the match itself. And like they completely saw the forecast on the people being with Dom, and they went with it. They used Finn as a foil. That was so great. That match rocked the house, man. Bron Breakker and Jacob Fatu is the match eventually. That's saying to really, you got to build gradually. But for now, this was Dom's deal, and the reaction to him winning will stick with me for a long time. It was outrageous, to be honest. I couldn't believe it. I knew he was over, and I knew the people wanted him to win. I didn't know it was going to be a people throwing the babies in the air as he wins the strap. That was crazy. Great moment, and I think, honestly, second best match on tonight's show. I think for me personally, it may be my second favorite match of the weekend. Maybe. I'm forgetting something, I think. I don't know. Either way, no, I'm confident that I'll stick with it, and then I'll retract it in 2 weeks or whatever. Elsewhere, so the show's going very nicely. In between those two matches, we had Priest and Drew, which I thought was a pretty, kind of conventional WWE plunder match, but it was well done because both guys are really good. Drew, I think, I've spoken a lot about, I think visibly looks like he's in a lot of pain. I mean, he wasn't going to allow that to restrain, to limit him at WrestleMania. He went hard, and of course they did. These guys are very physical with one another, which we saw in Glasgow last year. All they used the weaponry and such well, the furniture, and the finish was sweet with the Claymore. So I thought that was good. Like, it isn't something that will stick with me, to be honest, because those matches don't really resonate for whatever reason with me. But I thought it was very well done, and the crowd loved it. And I also think, like, it's interesting talking to fans, and we're so in the bubble. Getting a perspective on it is interesting. Drew is absolutely solidified among the people as like a real top guy. That much is like more apparent to me now than it was before, which is cool. He's obviously earned that and then some. So yeah, that match was good. Then the night got complicated after the IC title match. We have the Randy Orton Joe Hendry thing, which, to be honest with you, I don't have any great issue with. I wanted Miro, which is why I posted the silly photo, which for some reason got on everyone's timeline and people were really weird about. But I don't hate Joe Hendry. I don't care about Joe Hendry. Good for Joe Hendry, man. I don't get it, but good for him. Like, I'm not sweating bullets over it. It was funny to me because I thought it was going to be Miro. That was what the joke was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be fuck Joe Hendry. I thought what they did was fun. Like, it was way better than the alternative of a real match where they went, life and death, and the finish was memorable. Obviously, there's a hilarious political element in the sense that, like, the TNA part of it's kind of funny, but then again, 60,000 people trying TNA for a minute. I don't think it's something to worry about, to be honest, if you're TNA. I think there's other concerns far greater than Joe Hendry getting beat by an RKO out of nowhere. So that, to me, is more funny than anything damning. Again, not to say there's not other elements to that whole deal that you could use that word to describe. So yeah, all jokes aside, actually, that was fine. I had no problem with it. But it was disappointing as someone who wanted, someone that I like, because of course. Then we start getting into some dangerous territory, I feel. AJ Styles and Logan Paul, I expected nothing. I'm still disappointed. I knew Logan was going to win. This was like a debate on the air at one point, and the chat told me I was wrong. The chat was wrong. I was correct. He was always absolutely winning this match. There was never a doubt in my mind. What I did not expect, however, was him to take the entire match, front to back. I think AJ got a few different... I mean, don't get me wrong, AJ played a hit or two, but Logan took the whole match, dude. It was crazy. I couldn't believe that, to be honest with you. And that was not a positive for the match. Now, I will say, and I call it how I see it, AJ's work is always pretty to look at. It was noticeably slower tonight. He looked like he was struggling out there physically to me, which is a shame. He was in great form last summer when he was benched inexplicably. But yeah, I mean, he didn't look great, but Logan took the whole match, and there's no rhythm to it for me for Logan. He has the stuff he does, and he executes it well, but it's literally just like checklist wrestling. It's like, now this, now that, and it's different ways to feed into those things, but there's no seesaw of the match. There's no flow to it for me. I thought it was more noticeable tonight than it's been in any other big show. And I don't watch it super closely, that's to my eye. I thought he was very one-note in that way. The finish with Karrion Kross, I mean, we've all loved. The crowd pop for Kross, so good for Kross. Clearly it's working, that's great. In terms of a direction, I don't think it's particularly interesting, but, what are you going to do? My bad, my storage got messed up. Okay, so, yeah. The Karrion Kross deal was a direction I couldn't be less interested in. The finish was terribly flat. They also got AJ booed for punching Kross because people like Kross now. So, like, a miss on all fronts. The Logan Paul thing, to me, the novelty is completely gone. And now it's just watching a guy execute moves while people, like, go, wow, he can do it. I think it's brutal. And I also don't think the heat is, like, nearly as... I think people just dislike him. I was there tonight. People didn't seem that interested in booing him as a, like, wrestling heel. They just don't like the guy. To my ear tonight. Maybe that's unfair. I don't know. I also don't really care. Becky Lynch's return. The show would have benefited from a killer, like, tag match with, Bayley and Lyra versus Liv and Raquel. But as soon as we knew what was happening with the switch, I knew that wasn't going to be the case. Because not because Becky's lesser than, but because they were never going to have, like, a killer knockdown drag out tag match when they was doing a surprise reveal. It was just never going to happen. Instead, it was always going to be just, like, very simple and straight and direct. And that's what it was. It was a house show match. It was fine. Like, it wasn't executed poorly. Becky is never going to be someone who blows you over execution. That's not Becky Lynch's game, right? But, I don't know. I think the crowd was, like... They popped huge for Becky. She got a great response. It was weird in that some people around us definitely were left kind of like, why is Bayley not here? Which was funny to me. They didn't really emphasize it to the live crowd at all. If you got there, I got to night one like 40 minutes before the bell and night two the same, and they never once mentioned it. Like, I get it played on the screen, I guess. I don't know. Some people popped because of that reason. Mostly it was popped because Becky Lynch is a massive star. She got a great response, and like people were happy to see her, but the match didn't really go over that big, to be honest, because I don't think it was just about seeing Becky, and make of that what you will, but that's what it was, and it served that purpose. Unfortunately, looking at the second half of the show would have probably benefited more from a great match, which ideally, this would have been an angle where Becky was involved leading up, or at least teased leading up, and they could have worked it in and had a hot match as a result of that. Instead, it was all just, a surprise, and then the match was the match. I think definitely mistakes were made, and I think it had knock-on effects with the division. I think other people's plans were changed accordingly. Well, I mean, obviously, clearly. And I don't mean that as like a Becky bad thing. Like, that's not her job. What I mean is, from the show's balance point of view, I think that was a slight issue in hindsight. So yeah, I think that's everything. I've gone a little long on this one, so I apologise. Had a good time at both shows. It's fun to be there, and my brother and I got to react to the glass shattering, which was, like, that's the first time I've ever experienced that live. It was a good time. Both shows were complicated. I think if you're someone who's, like, really invested, I do think there is a conversation to be had about how much you can sink your teeth into the long-term planning that was a big attraction of the early days of this regime. I think there is increasing evidence that is, like, kind of a thing of the past, to be honest. That may be dramatic. I don't know. I'm in Vegas. But it's definitely something to, like, monitor if if that's your appeal of this era of WWE, I guess. But, yeah, had a good time. Two pretty weird shows. There was a lot of stuff I liked. There was some stuff I disliked too. But I appreciate everyone that was popping at my whole shit on Twitter tonight. I apologise to those that didn't want to see my face in the midst of a Joe Hendry entrance. Maybe an exciting moment for you that I spoiled. I don't know. And I'm excited to get back and work on some things. I feel like I'm returning in a better frame of mind, ready to attack the 128th new year of Late Night Grin. We're not changing anything crazy, don't worry. But I think some tweaks, I think will be for the best for everyone. I'm going to post this gimmick free, because I know the Grin Along was paywall tonight. If it sounds like shit, I'm sorry, but I'm in Vegas, so, I was going to say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but this, in fact, is getting posted on YouTube, so it will not stay in Vegas. I hope you enjoyed Mania. I hope you enjoyed the boys' Grin Along. I hope they didn't get us, thrown off YouTube or anything. Have a great night. Raw, all that good stuff, and I'll speak to you all soon. Goodbye.